We're back to Hardspace Shipbreaker. I haven't played this game in a little while. In fact, I've probably forgotten most of the controls. But the reason I'm back is because they've added a new ship that I've never played in before. I mean, it's another GECKO, so it is similar to other ships we've done before. And, oh, garbage. It's not even on the list right now. Well, that sucks. Okay, hold on. That's fine. Maybe we don't have to play career. Maybe we can play free play. Free play. Aha! GECKO Salvage. There we go. Okay, so because the ships that are available to you in career are randomly generated, sometimes you don't get the particular ship you have in mind. But that's fine. That's what free play is for. So we're here to check out the GECKO Salvage, which is it's a new ship that I have not taken apart before. Now I've got to remind myself how this game works. Okay, I've got my little laser guy here. Alright, so let's have a look at this ship. So it looks like it's held together like your typical GECKO. It's got these salvage arms on the outside, though, that I've never seen before. Another thing I noticed was that apparently there's a part of a ship that you can now break that you used to not be able to break. I'll have to keep my eyes out for that. But, so can I just grab this? Yes, I can. And it wants to be in the barge? Well, let's send it to the barge. Cool. Well, this is the easy part. Taking off the outside bits. I like getting credits for easy work. Let's take these other ones off. The outside of the ship has definitely got a different shape to it, though. I wonder what that's going to mean to taking it apart from the inside. Wait, didn't the other side have two salvage arms? Is it uneven? Is it asymmetrical? Asymmetry is confusing. Oh, what are these guys? Okay, so we've got some arms here too. Take these guys off. Okay. Looks like that's everything we got on the outside. We need to figure out how to get into this thing. It looks like, okay, we've got mostly pressurized sections here. Hopefully these are all contiguous. When I decompress most of the ship, they'll all go at once. So looks like we've got some sliding like garage doors here, which is interesting. I wonder if I'm actually gonna have the ability to open those at some point. Let's open up the airlock.
Pressure levels dropping.
So Pack3020 says, I feel like this game really gets you thinking in the world. Like the way you're talking, you know, it's held together like a normal GECKO. I love getting credits for easy work. I really dig when games get you thinking like that. Specifically, yeah, like thinking like the character, not just yourself. It's kind of the opposite. I don't know, is it called ludonarrative resonance instead of dissonance? When sort of your gameplay motivations turn you into like align you with the character you're playing, so that my motivations as a player are really similar to the motivations of the character, and so I end up feeling more like I'm you know, embroiled in the fantasy of being this character. All right, so I'm looking for an atmosphere control module. Wow, this place is, oh, what is that right there? Oh, so they have salvaged, the people who had the ship before have salvaged pieces of a reactor. That seems dangerous. Oh, and they've got like one of these guys too. Some pretty valuable, expensive stuff. But the thing I don't have, and the flickering lights, I feel like that's new. I don't think I don't think I've been in a ship with flickering lights before. There's lots of, so they add a new ship. I think they also add a lot of other little refinements to the game. Okay, so at some point I'm going to want to open up the sides of this ship. Whoa. Okay, maybe I need to disconnect my controller because it's going to be sitting here vibrating, apparently. Alright, so is it... Okay, it is pressurized back there. Okay, so here's the reactor. Do I have a key? I don't. Alright. So I'll need to get... Oh, here's the atmosphere control. So right here, next to the airlock, of course. Okay, so let me try venting the atmosphere.
Air pressure level decreasing.
Oh, look at that! They actually vented the room that was connected to me. That's been a real frustration of mine, is that like if there were multiple rooms connected to each other and you vented one of them, you'd kind of be screwed. But it looks like they actually did me a favor there. Okay, so the airlock, so there's a cargo space that still has pressure, and that's it. So let's go find that cargo space. It's this one. Okay, so when I open this, it's going to vent a bunch of atmosphere in here. But I think that's what is this thing? Heavy. That's what this thing is. If this thing is dangerous, I don't really know what it is. If this thing is dangerous, I don't want a bunch of stuff from the other room flying into it. So let's just shove this into a hole. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn off the vibration on my controller. Because where is that going to be? Screen shake, vibration. Let's just turn that off altogether. Save. Okay. Let's get that out of the way, and then let's open this door.
Air pressure
Ow.
level decreasing.
Okay. So, okay, there's some supplies in there that I want later. That's cool. It looks like my oxygen is not decreasing when you're in free play. So I've never done free play before. I've only ever done career. When you're in free play, does it just not make you go back for oxygen? If that's true, that's kind of cool. It just lets you sort of like try things out uninterrupted. Okay, so so the first thing I want to do is break open the outer shell of the ship so that I can then start opening walls up and getting equipment out. So let's see. Okay, there's the cockpit. I'm looking for a hatch into the ceiling or into the floor, something that will let me in to the area between the inner hull and the outer hull. Ooh, okay, we got holes in the ceiling here. Okay, there's those garage doors. We got holes in the ceiling here. Okay, yeah, I can squeeze up here. Okay, so I gotta be careful with these coolant pipes. And the fuel pipes. The fuel pipes are making me nervous. Maybe I should go back and buy a key so that I can vent the fuel pipes, just to be careful. Well, I'll start at the front of the ship. Avoid the fuel pipes for now. Whoa. And then once I've cracked open a makeshift exit, I'll go out and I'll grab a key. Oh, here's a makeshift exit right here. Sweet. Okay, let's go buy a key from the, whatever this thing is called, the main jack. Yeah, so Smoke Rainbow Pony says, this doesn't seem to be timed. Yeah, that's true. It's not timed. Because I'm playing in free play. How do I get out of this thing again? There we go. Because it's in free play, it's not timed. So I think I can just sort of mess around as much as I want. send this to the processor. But actually, no, that does seem like, you know, if I've got confusion about how to disassemble a particular type of ship, FreePlay actually does seem like a good tool for just, you know, in a low pressure way, figuring out what I'm doing. Okay, so they've really routed the coolant all over the place. I gotta be very careful not to fire this thing in the direction of the coolant pipe, because I am not prepared to deal with the reactor. Like, if I accidentally set off the reactor, I do not have a route to get that reactor out of this ship. Though, I mean, what is this thing? I don't think I've seen one of these before. Oh wait, is this the airlock? I don't think I've seen the airlock look like this. And is it like, it's held together here by something? I've never seen anything like this. Airlocks historically have been a frustrating part of the ships because they're just hard to disassemble. It's like they've got, you know, different parts that belong in different receptacles, but they're all very tangled up and bound together, and it's hard to separate them. I wonder if they've actually made the airlock more disassemblable, and that's what I'm doing here by cutting these cuttables, is disassembling the airlock. Okay, I'm aiming in the direction of the fuel. Probably don't want to do that until I've done something about until I've vented the fuel. Or maybe I'm just really reckless and I'm just going to do this anyway. Whoa. Those purple sparks made me nervous. Okay, maybe I'm being crazy. Maybe I shouldn't be aiming halfway across the ship with a laser. So Smoke Rainbow Pony says, Interlink Systemics has a great logo here. Simple, but you could recognize it. Yeah, no, I agree. I think I was just complaining on Twitter, actually, about apparently somebody just posted that Google is changing some of the icons for some of their apps, and it kind of bugged me, actually, because they made the apps like more like share more in common, like you could recognize sort of the Google branding in them more, but they also made them converge with each other so that you couldn't tell them apart anymore, and it made me annoyed. Like logo design, icon design stuff, it's a very sort of difficult and specific discipline of graphic design, and it's so easy to do things that people hate, and so I don't want to hate on it too much, just because, you know, it's a hard job, and you usually have to get, if you're doing very simple, elegant work, that you have to get approved by dozens of very powerful people, and it's almost impossible to work under those conditions. So I'm not really, like, I'm not criticizing the people who came up with the icons. They were probably working under very difficult conditions, but I still don't really approve of the creative direction that it ended up taking. But I don't even know, I mean, it was just something I saw on Twitter. I don't even know if what I saw was a real set of icons that Google actually intends to use, so. Can't believe anything you see on Twitter these days, it's so sad. Okay, so now that I've vented the fuel, you can see there's no purple lights here anymore. I can kill these pipe joints, which sort of frees up the thrusters so I can extract them from the back later on. I think okay, so this right here, is this cuttable? Let's find out. Okay, so historically, there have been these green joiners that were not cuttable. And I was kind of thinking, I read a description that made it sound like maybe those green joiners were going to become cuttable. It looks like on this ship they've just been replaced by yellow joiners, and so that doesn't really change anything about the way things work fundamentally. Okay, so I'm just going to double check that I've got all of the cuttables on the upper layer. Oh no, I was assuming that this wasn't cuttable, and so I didn't try to cut it, but it looks like it is, so. You always got to orient yourself so that you don't have a vulnerable pipe directly across the cuttable from you, or you're going to blow something up. Okay, do not cut that yet. Okay, let's see if we can just slide down the... Ooh, fuse. Let's get this fuse. Okay, so the way that fuses work, you gotta wait till all the lights have lit up, and then pull... There you go, and then pull the switch. And that gets the fuse safely. If you pull the switch at any other time, you get an electric shock. And then your radio plays music that is not as cool as the music that I'm listening to right now. Though I don't know how well you can hear the music, actually, because I do tend to keep the volume of the game a little bit low when I'm playing, so I'm not sort of competing with something else while I'm trying to communicate. So let me know if you'd like me to raise the volume so you can hear the music better. Smug Rainbow Pony says, imagine YouTube getting the yellow, green, and blue in their app logo to match the rest of the Google branding. And Packler's like, yeah, everyone would rebel. Yeah, I agree. YouTube has got a really nice, strong brand already. Nobody wants it to change. And yeah, one thing, sometimes companies that are very successful can get very full of themselves, and they can start believing that their audience really cares about their brand, really cares about all of their little branding choices, and that they'll be just as interested in it as the creators are. And that is often not the case. Usually, customers, especially of something as universal as Google, they think of their Google products as just like a tool they use every day, like a hammer or something like that. It's like you don't care about the branding of a hammer. You just want it to be a good hammer. And a company getting sort of narcissistic and self-important about their branding when you see it as a hammer just feels like distracting sometimes. Again, I don't want to just like be ripping on Google specifically. They were an example that just sort of got my attention. I've disliked I've disliked visual and graphic design changes that companies have done before when I first saw them, and then got used to them and everything was fine. This might be the same thing. It could be that once I've gotten used to new Google icons, they'll just be, oh, those are the Google icons, whatever, and I know exactly what they all mean, and it'll be fine, and I don't need to fret about it. But still, because I remember the last time Twitter did a redesign, I was like, oh, this looks like garbage. How could I ever look at this? And then within a few weeks, I couldn't even remember what was different. It was just fine, And I think that that negative reaction that people often have to changes to the branding or the design of a website or something like that, I'm sure it drives graphic designers absolutely insane. That no matter what they do, if they make any changes, everyone flips out and gets all mad at them, and then within a couple of weeks, everyone's used to the change and nobody's mad anymore. And then the graphic designers are like, how about you just don't get mad at me in the first place? Okay, so I think I accidentally ended up on the top layer. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be on the bottom. Okay, so now I'm back on the bottom. Or am I? Did I somehow... I thought I still had at least a quarter of the cuttables left to cut, but maybe I don't. Maybe I'm done. Alright, well, if I'm done, let's be done. Oh, it's so weird to have infinite tethers. I mean, it says I've got 1,000 tethers, but that number never goes down. Is that... And my tethers are like maximum power, too. Now and then I'm getting a performance hitch, but hopefully it's not too obnoxious to look at. It occurs to me, though, I should be checking to make sure there's nothing on the inside walls of these bits of hull that can cause me problems. So I've got, yeah, over here. Okay, so I've got some coolant over here, not attached to the hull, but this one is attached to the hull. So let's pull that off, and then maybe we can drag this part of the hull away and then deliver that bit. So it's weird having like these maximum power tethers and having like an infinite number of them. Even with the maximum power tethers though, this bit is pretty slow. Alright, and so then just send that to the barge. Whee! Okay, so I think everything else is unattached. So let's just go nuts with our tethers and just get the whole hull of this ship gone. Oh, wait. Yeah, so the bit that is connected to the cockpit is usually attached a little better than the rest. So I'm going to have to leave that bit alone for now. Oh. Did my other tethers expire? Just, wow, I can go so fast when I don't have to replace my tethers at all. I can just assign them like crazy. Okay, it looks like I did miss one cut. You can never... Whoa, something coming towards me? So my character keeps reacting like something's about to hit him. But it's often a lie. It's hard to figure that kind of stuff out, though. It's like you've got to set sort of the boundaries around like when he reacts like this and when he doesn't. And you want to probably err on the side of being too sensitive, because if something is going to hit you and your character doesn't react and you don't warn the player, they'll be more frustrated by that than the character overreacting. So even though overreacting is weird and annoying, it's better than the alternative. We've got a really similar situation with NPCs opening their doors to smash zombies in State of Decay 2. In the past, we've definitely been more appropriately sensitive. Like, I remember when we first added that feature of NPCs opening their doors to smash zombies, it was kind of almost unnaturally clever. Like, it was really good at figuring out the right times to do it. But I think we needed to make changes over time to just sort of like, I don't know, we just kind of kept tweaking it, and now I'm not actually sure it's as good as it was originally. But there's just so many edge cases you always have to worry about with systems like that, with AI making decisions, that it's really easy to sort of make things too sensitive or not sensitive enough. I think right now our character's a little too sensitive. Like they open their doors at times where you're like, we're nowhere near a zombie, what are you doing? I think, you know, just like in this game, you know, we were sort of erring on the side of being too sensitive so that we don't miss opportunities. Yeah, so when I attach tethers to the tops of these hull bits, they're red at first because they're at the wrong angle, but they quickly like tilt the piece of hull down, and so it's fine. So I'm lucky that these garage door things are processor. I was afraid that I was going to have to cut them loose if they were going to be like, you know, if they were going to belong in the furnace or something, but it looks like they don't. So can we pull this? Oh, so these might be attached in a weird way. Okay, so maybe we can't. Alright, while that's getting sucked in, let's... Oh, right. We've got some thrusters to detach. Are these the kinds I have to cut loose? Yeah, it looks like. I really like some of the configurations that they've come up with. Like, you know, like cutting the hull apart from the inside is different from cutting sections out of the inner hull, which is different from like cutting loose these little thruster caps that where you then basically pull the thruster out like a, I don't know, pulling a snake out of a hole or something like that. There's sort of like you're doing the same basic maneuvers in all these cases, but because of sort of the form of the thing you're messing with, it sort of changes the feel of the experience, which is kind of fun. So let's see what happens if I just attach this. Will it actually snake around and get there, or will it just be a disaster? It'll just be a disaster. Oh, let's just not do that then. Let's just send them over individually. It's really hard to keep stuff out of the furnace. When you're pulling like stuff that belongs in the processor from the back of the ship, it just wants to go to the furnace real bad. And getting it to not go to the furnace is delicate. That's one reason why I pull these, I tend to pull these bits straight back first. Just get them out of the way of the ship, do the entire ship, and then once the ship is out of the way, I try to send these in the processor, but I don't try to take them around the ship to get to the processor because they just end up in the furnace every time. Okay, so while those are... This one's not going fast enough. So while those are being pulled away... I'll mess with some other parts of the ship. So what about this bit? Can this bit go? Yep. And this bit as well? What about this guy? Yep. Oh, and look at this. The airlock is detached. It did work as well as I'd hoped. I cut the airlock apart, and now I can just put the pieces of the airlock where they belong. Ooh, this part of the airlock wants to go to the barge. Interesting. I've never had... Like, that big chunk of airlock has always been furnace material. Okay, please don't hit the pipe. Please don't hit the pipe. Thank you for not hitting the pipe. Let's pull this one up. Send it over. Sometimes a lot of the time when I'm worried about something hitting this little wall between the processor and the furnace, instead of sending it straight into the processor, I'll send it to like nearby the processor, like further to the right, so that it'll miss this wall. And the processor is so like it does such a good job of attracting objects that all I need to do is get the objects near the processor and it'll grab them. So I don't actually have to get super duper close. Okay, so we're starting to get down to the actual inner hull, the actual guts. Let's see. So yeah, we got this sort of the spine of the ship still here. Get this going high enough, and then pull it towards the processor. I'll get the thrusters. They go to barge, right? Yeah, thrusters are barge. What about the pipes? Pipes are processor. Can I just fire them down there and have them arrive? Oh, these pipes. Oh, whoops. Pipes came off a little bit more cleanly than they used to historically. I wonder if they've just sort of been making some refinements. Because, I mean, sometimes part of the challenge was dealing with the fact that there were certain items that just were not good at being cut apart. And just there were some cases where an item was just like, there's no good way to take it apart. And that could be challenging, but it was also frustrating. Grab the fuse. It was also frustrating, and I can see them sort of trying to make the game, because a lot of what works about this game is that it's satisfying, you know, in that sort of like internet definition of satisfying. So, you know, like, ooh, I'm cleaning things up, I'm cutting things apart, I'm putting things away. It just sort of feeds into a lot of those like human emotional experiences of like fixing things and cleaning things. And when they make something deliberately not able to be cleanly taken apart or put together, it makes it not satisfying. And so I think they might be leaning into the fact that, like, that's the motivation. I think, at least for me as a player, the motivation to play this game, the reason I love it is because of that sort of satisfying feeling. And so it probably does, even though maybe the game is less challenging if everything is more satisfying, it's more fun to play. And so I could see them maybe leaning a bit in more in that direction. Okay, so, all right, we've cleared off all of these bottom sections of the hull. Let's grab these coolant tanks. And then I think our next goal might be to start figuring out how to work our way towards the reactor. Let's pull this guy out. Oh, but here's a question. How long have we been playing Hardspace Shipbreaker? Because... oh yeah, it says we've been playing for about half an hour. That's about how long I like to make my videos. So real quick, let's say that we're sort of hitting a stopping point here. We'll wrap up a video, and then we'll continue in another video. So subscribe or whatever, and I imagine that when I'm done, I'll put the next video up there so that you can just follow straight along and continue whenever you want.